This article is from MSN, but this has been everywhere, you guys. Jasmine Crockett, who really has just been such a fighter and really putting herself out there and really going after Trump and this fascist regime. She's among 4 Democrats who are competing in the Oversight Committee election after Connolly's death, after Representative Gerry Connolly, a Democrat from Virginia, passed away. Possible contenders have held off on public comments out of respect for the late congressman, but there are more announcements coming. This is according to Politico. So the 4 Democrats eyeing this job are Crockett, Stephen Lynch, he's a Democrat out of Massachusetts, Robert Garcia, a Democrat of California, and Kwesi Mumfe. He is and I'm sorry if I mispronounced their names, they're a Democrat out of Maryland. Crockett said she definitely wants this. She says, I absolutely do, when asked if she wanted to lead the committee. She said, ultimately, I'm hoping and praying my colleagues see that I can provide what we need as a team to make sure we move forward and instill some confidence in the American people by knowing that they have a real fighter who will not back down, even in all of the threats that have been waged against me. This is a really big deal because Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, of course, from New York, came up short after a contentious race with Connolly for the ranking member spot on the committee earlier this year. If you guys remember that, she does not hold a seat on the Oversight Committee. She sits on now the Energy and Commerce Committee, which allowed the other 4 to go after the spot. I love this for Crockett. I don't know the other 3 that are up for this as well. And to me, that's problematic because right now I should be hearing, if anybody wants a leadership role, I should be hearing about them. They should be out there more. And I'm hearing of her all the time. She's done a great job of not just self-promotion, which I do think is important and something that the Democrats have undervalued in the last several election cycles. And they need to get on board with it because they need to be brands just like the Republicans have done. But also, you know, she's a lawyer. She's in her 40s. She's living very much like what American people are living and understanding. And she isn't afraid. And I really respect her strength and also her willingness to just put it out there. And that's what we need from our leaders in the Democratic Party. And so I think she would be an excellent choice as somebody that I know would be a bulldog for us going after these people and making sure that they are held accountable for their actions, because that is a thing that has truly been lacking. And I also, as an aside, I just want to say we've had several Democrats that have died recently, and that's another conversation for another day. But we really, Desmond, should talk about that in one of our upcoming segments around potential age limits on these terms.
The question before the Democratic Party is, what is the most important thing to them? You know, because for the longest time, the reason why, you know, the Gerry Connollys and other people who are, you know, a little older keep finding themselves in these high-ranking positions is because Democrats as a party in the House, they believe in seniority above everything. Oh, and we heard this from Gerry Connolly when he took the position, you know, a few months back, where he said, like, oh, it's my turn. Like that's how they view these things. It's like, I waited in line. It's my turn to be here. So on, so
forth.
That's
how Biden felt. About being president.
Right. It's my turn. I've put in the time. I'm supposed to be here now. It is baffling to me that is how they go about making these decisions. And now this just comes to a larger conversation that I keep having with myself about, like, what exactly is the Democratic Party? Like, I just
you and me both.
Because to me, it really boils down to 2 things. Like, are they just, like, dumbfoundingly incompetent, or are they precise in their ineffectiveness? Because it really is one or the other. You know, I cannot figure out which one it is, because a part of me feels like it's almost like too consistent to be just incompetent. Like, maybe they have to be trying to be just this bad all the time. Because the obvious thing that you'd want to do is put your most visible people in the best positions possible to continue to elevate the brand of your party. If it was about winning, if it was about being more prominent, if it was about actually winning back all these voters that you claim to care about losing, then you'd be doing everything possible to prop up the people who are the most popular members of your party. And yet it seems like at every turn, they do the exact opposite. They do the exact opposite, Natalie. I cannot. Is it just the largest form of incompetence you've ever seen in your life? Or do they just actually prefer to suck? Like which one is it? Which one is it?
Can it be both? No. So I think it's beyond that. I think that is a kind of sweet, naive way of looking at this. I think the elephant in the room, or in this case, the donkey in the room, that we're ignoring is that this party was bought and paid for with corporate money many, many years ago. And so they have become corporatists. They've moved so far right. If you looked at them in any other era, they'd really look like moderate Republicans at their very best. And so that's why I think the ones that stick out, right? The Jasmines, the AOCs, even the Elizabeth Warrens, the Pete Buttigieg's, we'll give them even that. They're looking more liberal than they actually really are, right? So because of that, the powers that be that bought and paid for these seats don't want any movement towards the left. They don't want any movement towards people power or working people policy, because it could upset the apple cart. It could upset Wall Street and this little fiefdoms that they've created. So for me, this is very intentional, just like it was intentional to make sure Bernie didn't get that nomination against Hillary Clinton in that primary, just like it was intentional that, certain people have been invited to kiss the ring of Nancy Pelosi and certain people have not been over the years. And to me, this is all because of corporate money, which is exactly why we need campaign finance reform. We need to overturn Citizens United. This is a drum I will beat till the day I die, because that was one of the worst rulings ever to be handed down by the Supreme Court. And it has really led to this moment. And this is about connecting dots. And so for Jasmine Crockett to be able to get this position would be a part of that course correction, but it's only very incremental, but it would be a start.
I want to challenge that a little bit here, because I don't disagree about Citizens United being a terrible decision, or about how Democratic Party doesn't want to, essentially, they've never been welcoming to the left flank of their party. They've always wanted to squash it at every turn. Don't disagree with any of that.
Yeah.
I don't know that Jasmine Crockett truly represents that faction, though. I mean, I've never really seen anything from her that, shouts to me that she's a part of that left flank.
I don't think she is.
Yeah, I don't think she is either.
No, but
she's actually firmly established as an establishment. She has establishment policies. She's just a really effective communicator.
Exactly. But this is what I'm saying is they don't even want that, because she's willing to at least call these guys out, which is still upsetting the apple cart. I agree with you. I agree with you. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think that Jasmine Crockett being in this position would be a great thing for the Democratic Party.
I agree.
Because she just seems to understand this media landscape in ways that most of these people do not. Maybe some of these people in the party feel threatened by her and her popularity. That could be, unfortunately, something that we are seeing here, is that they all see a rising star and maybe they are trying to blunt her momentum a little bit. I don't know.
Well, and she's a black woman.
The politics, in and around there just don't make enough sense to me.
She's also a black woman. Let's just call that out too. I think we are good at calling out the Republicans for their overt racism, but we're not so good at calling out the Democrats for their covert racism, I think.
I think that seeing Hakeem Jeffries come up to the head of the party now, you would hope that maybe he would be blunting some of that at the top of the ticket, essentially because he's now the leader of the Democratic Party in the House. You'd be hoping, behind the scenes that he wouldn't be allowing that to be happening as much.
I think sometimes I had a conversation with a friend of mine earlier today about this very topic. We were talking about it within the local political scene here in Pittsburgh, and how sometimes it's the establishment gives a person of color or a woman an opportunity and pats them on the head and says, okay, now go do our bidding because we gave you this opportunity. And I don't like to be cynical, but I am, because I've just seen it over and over and over again. I mean, has Jeffries done that much to show that he has sort of fallen out of line with the established Democrats' rhetoric? I don't know. Time will tell. I hope you're right. But I just feel kind of cynical about all of it. So if she were to be able to secure this, in a sense, I hope now we have him and now we would have her, and the more, the better. If we can get more people of color and more women in positions of power, because if nothing else, it will force them to move this needle a little to the left. just because of lived experiences that come along with being in these positions. But I don't think you can do it with just one or two sort of tokenized people.
I want to hear from people in the comments. You know, do
Yeah.
you think that Jasmine Crockett should be the new head of the Oversight Committee? Do you think that she deserves that position? If you think so, let us know in the comments really quick.
Yeah. Yeah. So for me, it's just, I think this all speaks to a changing of the guard. And that to me is going to be an interesting thing. How is that received by the people that have been there and feel as though, well, I've paid my dues and I should be next in line. But, you know, I think we need a generational change in power, because when I hear people over 50, 60, 70 saying that times aren't tough, you're just not working hard enough. These are people that have never experienced the cost of living that we have, the rise in cost of child care, the rise in cost of healthcare. They never experienced that. I mean, I remember when my dad was in chiropractic school, he told me he rented an apartment in Pittsburgh. It was $75 a month. And this is in 1970 something. This isn't that long ago. The minimum wage has not jumped that much since the 70s. $75 a month. Like,
I mean,
we've lost it.
It was that long ago, but you know.
No, it was, but these are the same, this is the same age group that's telling us that we're not getting it together. And it's like, guys, your rent was 1/10 of what rent is now, but wages have not met that mark, you know?
Right.
So I think that there's not a reality check happening here.
No, I absolutely agree.